American Top 40.
And now our AT40 special by the singer that a leading pop music writer called the biggest female star in the history of rock music. That was Robert Hilburn of the LA Times. And he said this: in her records and concerts, she gave more of herself emotionally and physically than anyone else dared. Nobody'll argue that. Offstage, she lived pretty fast and pretty hard. The kind of living that makes life short. When she died last October, an overdose of drugs, they said, she was only 27. A few months ago, she had the #1 song in the country, Me and Bobby McGee. But 3 years ago, she had a smash single with Big Brother and the Holding Company that might have inspired what Hilburn said about giving of herself. Here's Janis Joplin and Piece of My Heart. An AT40 special by the late Janis Joplin with Big Brother and the Holding Company from 3 years ago, Piece of My Heart, and the countdown rolls on.
American Top 40.
This is Casey Kasem on AT40, and now a hit by the young blues singer who was already a legend even before she died a year ago last October. She was only 27, but she sounded a lot older because of her rough, raspy, let-it-all-hang-out singing style. Time magazine reported that when her friends used to caution her to hold back in order to preserve her voice, she'd say, "Why should I hold back now and sound mediocre, just so I can sound mediocre 20 years from now?" Her version of this song by Chris Christopherson was the 11th biggest hit of 1971. Here's Janis Joplin, Me and Bobby McGee.
Busted flat in Baton Rouge, waiting for a train.
The 11th best-selling song of 1971, Janis Joplin, Me and Bobby McGee.
American Top 40.
19 hits to #1 and counting down. The album at number 19 is by the late blues singer whose voice one critic described as whiskey-soaked. Sounds like he was putting it down, doesn't it? Well, he wasn't. Writer Dave Finkel was just being as honest as he could about one of the most unforgettable voices that this generation has heard. Here's what he wrote. Her voice is whiskey-soaked. Notes become harsh chords as if a bow is being drawn across all 4 strings of an untuned violin. And then suddenly, like the sun breaking through black clouds, the voice is sweet. A tantalizing, cruel return to purity. And then the black clouds return. Here's Janis Joplin.
Yes. What down on me?
From the nation's 19th best-selling LP this week, Joplin in concert, that was Janis Joplin.
American Top 40.
Now the AT40 special by the artist who lived her lifetime in 27 years, just 5 months short of seeing her biggest single hit #1. She was born and raised in Port Arthur, Texas, decided she wasn't happy there, and she left home when she was 17. She went to Austin, where she started singing professionally in nightclubs around the University of Texas. Then she moved up to San Francisco, where it was supposed to be happening, and for her it did. The rest of her life was spent pretty much in the spotlight. First of all with Big Brother and the Holding Company, then the Monterey Pop Festival in '67, her own band in '68, lots of concerts, and more critical acclaim than a press agent knows what to do with. And then a year ago, last October, they found her in a room in Hollywood, dead, from an overdose of drugs. 5 months later, a song from her last album, Pearl, hit #1 on the charts. That was a year ago. And here it is. It was #1 just 1 year ago on AT40 special, Me and Bobby McGee, Janis Joplin.
The hits from coast to coast.